Hey, caregiving family, what's going on? It's Candace from our FTD Journey, and tonight I think I'm going to talk about aggression. As a caregiver of somebody with FTD, aggression is a huge thing. You're constantly walking a fine line. This is especially true with behavioral variant or BVFTD. Um, One thing I had to learn very early on was not to upset my mom. Um, because the littlest thing could make her aggressive. So it would be like if I even laughed at something wrong or like made some kind of comment or anything, it was like constantly having to watch my back early on. And there were a couple of times that she did try to go after me because she misread my body language or what I was saying. And so I had to learn very quickly to be mindful of the things I do and say. And I also had to learn to not turn my back on her because for some reason that would make her upset. And talking on the phone was almost impossible because she wanted me to constantly have my attention on her, which was kind of rough some days, but it was okay. Uh, if I got any calls, I would just tell people, well, I can't really talk. My mom wants my attention, uh, so I would, 5-minute phone call maybe. She also, the way the phone rang, like the ringtone and different vibration, or yeah, different, how do I say it? The sounds of the ringtones used to make her crazy. So I ended up having to turn my ringer off because she would get upset every time she heard a notification. She'd be like, "What's that? What's that?" So I just after a while I was like, just let me turn it off, put it on vibrate, or just put it on silent altogether because it bothered her. Um, Also, different other things used to bother her too, like mirrors. So eventually, we would take down the mirrors that we could, or just put blankets over them, because she'd be looking at them, talking to herself, or just getting angry at them because she didn't recognize herself after a while in the mirrors, and she couldn't understand like what that other person was doing there, not realizing it was her. But sometimes she would have fun talking in the mirror. She'd be like, "Hey, how you doing? Where you been? It's been a while since I've seen you." Um, Loud noises and sounds. One thing I always advise people is to try to keep the environment as peaceful as you can because it will save you, especially when it comes to sundowning. Um, yeah, sundowning, not a fun time of the day. But if you keep the environment quiet and peaceful, if that's possible in your house, then do it. Because if my mom heard like loud noises on TV, say glass breaking and shattering, or any people arguing on the TV, oh, she would have a fit, and even broke a TV one day because of somebody in the house was listening to something that was very action packed and loud, and she didn't like it. And I had warned this individual not to do that, but they did it anyway, and they didn't listen to me. and my mom took a paperweight and threw it right at the TV. And that could have been prevented. So I am big on prevention when it comes to caregiving. So if you know something upsets your loved one, then depending on what it is, I would try to avoid it altogether. Uh, if you know certain TV shows agitates them, don't watch them. If you know the news upsets them, don't watch it. If you know bright lights, because lights give off shadow, then maybe get some dim lights. If dim lights, then maybe you need some brighter lights. It's funny because when you're caring for somebody with dementia, you're constantly playing detective, always trying to figure out like what's going on. But the more you can figure out, I think the better. But you gotta be willing to play detective and find ways to keep the peace. Now my mom was never really diagnosed with any particular FTD, but I believe that she had PPA, primary progressive aphasia, and BV FTD. So yeah, along with her losing her speaking abilities, I also had to deal with her anger and her aggression. It was wild. I remember the first time she hit me, sent me like into a shock. Because it's the first time in a long, long time in my adult life that she hit me. And I was just like, okay, what do we do with this? And dealing with that aggression teaches you a lot of self-control and self-restraint because you don't hit back. You might be tempted to at times when they come up to you and smack you for no reason. But you can't do that because they don't know, they don't understand. Reasoning is gone. So you try to figure out, okay, what happened before that slap? What happened before I got yelled at? What happened before I got cussed at? And you play detective and you figure it out. And then, okay, I know what happened now. Now I can avoid doing that. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes the aggression just comes out and you didn't do anything. But there's usually a reason. If one thing I could, any wisdom that I can impart on you is that behavior is communication. So if there's acting out for any reason, something's going on. And so it's up to us to figure out, okay, what did it? It's a lot being a caregiver with somebody with FTD because you never really know what you're up against one day or the other. And, it's a challenge. Well, for me, it's been rewarding also. Every day is not felt like that. At least it wasn't for me because I had kind of figured out what made my mom tick and what not to do. But when you have other people around you who don't listen and are antagonistic and egging on, it makes it that much more of a challenge. But, you do what you can with the resources that you have. So that's it for now. Like, share, subscribe. I hope you like what I've been doing so far. Feel free to leave comments, ask questions. I'll answer anything. And this is number 6 in the videos, and I will have number 7 up for you tomorrow. So enjoy, have a good night. I'm not sure what tomorrow's going to be, but I'm sure I'll figure it out before I turn the camera on. So you have a good one. Bye.